Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, millions of Californians coming together because of earthquakes. How a new alert system may help you stay safe on this, the 30th anniversary of the Loma Prieta quake. Plus, surprising new numbers when it comes to homeless arrests locally. What a new report tells us about who's behind bars and why. And combating bullying and discrimination. How recent attacks are raising new questions and concerns among Muslim students in California. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. It's Thursday, October 17th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi, and we begin tonight with a new effort to save lives. A new earthquake warning system launched today on the 30th anniversary of the deadly Loma Prieta earthquake in California's Bay Area. The earthquake killed 68 people and injured 3,800 others. Back then, we didn't have the technology we have today. Technology to send early detection signals so that you might have time to drop, cover, and hold on. A new mobile device app will give us more warning when the next earthquake hits. Do you remember the California earthquake early warning test sent to your phones in June? If you don't, then you may not have received the alert. It's a federal system that uses motion sensors to detect earthquakes before humans can feel them. Holly Porter at the State Office of Emergency Services says the data from that warning test is still being analyzed, and there are a number of reasons why some people may not have received the alert.
That system, wireless emergency alerts, was tested to see if it was appropriate for earthquake early alert and warning. We use that system here in San Diego County to inform people of things like fires. If there's a need for an evacuation, we use that same system to notify people.
In those alerts, once an earthquake is detected, the information is sent to FEMA for evaluation, then sent to cell phone companies who then distribute the signal. If you're close to the epicenter of a quake, you may not get a warning in time. But even a few seconds can make the difference.
There's a lot of things that you can do in a few seconds. You can pull your car over to the side of the road safely. So there are a number of things that people can do that will prevent injury just with even a few seconds of notice.
The Office of Emergency Services is launching another way to receive a life-saving warning. It's an app called MyShake, and it's not meant to replace the wireless emergency alert, but to layer your notifications.
We hope you get both. We want there to be multiple ways to inform people of potential evacuations or instructions that will help keep them safe.
And the MyShake app was developed by UC Berkeley Seismology Lab and is available for download today. The number of people booked into San Diego County jails with a history of homelessness is on the rise. There was an increase of about 33% in the last 10 years. That's according to a new study from Sandag that looked at the drug use trends of inmates. KPBS reporter Priya Sridhar breaks down the report.
For decades, the San Diego Association of Governments has tracked drug use among prison inmates. In the most recent study, they dug deeper and looked into the housing status of people arrested. Sandag's director of research, Dr. Cynthia Burke, says 77% of those people arrested in local jails said they first became homeless in San Diego. And the average age the respondents became homeless was 26.
And we care about that population because they're a high-risk population, but they also could be show us what trends may be coming for the general population. Because we have local control, we can ask a number of other questions that are of interest to our local stakeholders, which could include elected officials, prevention, treatment, law enforcement, the whole continuum.
They found inmates with a history of homelessness were more likely to test positive for drugs, especially meth, at the time of their booking, and that those who had experienced homelessness were more likely to have a mental health disorder.
I don't want to say that just locking somebody up isn't going to fix these issues. We know that that doesn't work. But how do we try to keep bringing the horse to water? How do we keep making treatment available? And how do we do it in a way that our community feels safe? Because we know homelessness is a big concern for a lot of people.
The report found that those who had a history of homelessness were less likely to be arrested for a violent offense than those who said they had never been homeless. Michael McConnell, a homeless advocate, said the findings weren't surprising.
People aren't getting the help that they need. There's an increase in arrests. There's an increase of folks in our jail systems who are experiencing homelessness, not just once, but multiple times, that aren't getting the help they need.
Advocates and researchers are hoping that the new data can help stakeholders find better solutions for the community. Priya Sridhar, KPBS News.
Tonight, San Diego police are investigating a hate crime on the Trolley. A 17-year-old boy, Syrian refugee, says a man confronted him for speaking Arabic before physically assaulting him as witnesses stood by. KPBS City Heights reporter Ebony Monet has details about how authorities have turned to MTS surveillance video for answers.
San Diego police are looking for a man who they say assaulted a 17-year-old who was riding a trolley home from school.
This Islamophobic, anti-Muslim sentiment that is ramping, unfortunately, in our community.
Iman Taha Hassan is the head of the Islamic Center of San Diego. He's working with the family of the teen who he describes as a Syrian refugee.
He was speaking in Arabic over the phone with his friend. This guy came very close to him in the trolley, and he asked him whether you are Mexican. He said no. And then he asked him, what's this language that you are talking, that you are using? He said, I'm an Arab, and this is Arabic.
Hassan says the incident quickly shifted from verbal to physically violent.
And then the boy kind of like yelled at him, why you are yelling at me? Why you are doing this to me? At that point, he started punching him, and he punched him in his eye.
Police say MTS surveillance video corroborates the teen's account. And San Diego Muslim leaders say this incident is an example of a rise in Islamophobia.
This is the impact, and this is the result of the anti-immigrant, anti-refugees, anti-Muslim rhetoric that we see from the top of the administration of the United States and going down.
Police arrested a man for attacking 3 Muslim women wearing hijabs in Little Italy. Ebony Monet, KPBS News.
Beginning next year, homes built in California must include solar panels. But some are concerned this new building code will make it even harder for people to afford homes. KPBS science and technology reporter Shalina Chatlani explains why.
In a southeast San Diego neighborhood, a crew from Grid Alternatives is screwing in a solar panel onto a roof. This nonprofit group installs solar energy for low-income families at no cost. Clovis Honore volunteers with the group and is president of the local NAACP. He says a mandate requiring new residential construction to have solar is a good idea and will help the environment, but he's concerned.
Oh, we're going to put solar on new homes. We're going to put solar on up to 3-story apartment buildings. But where will they be built? Who will be able to access them?
Honore is worried low-income and underserved communities will be left out of California's clean energy transition. At the San Diego University campus, Joseph Cates of the Energy Policy Initiative Center says the state is aware of that.
Where we've seen the initial uptake was, higher income people installing these panels. And so there is an equity question around that the state is grappling with. The state wants more of these systems deployed, and they want to hit these other segments of existing building.
Kate says it was easier for the state to target new construction for a solar mandate before existing buildings. But he says the state does fund some programs to subsidize solar energy in multifamily homes. Grid Alternatives also gets funding through those programs. The group is supported by volunteers who pitch in for the labor. They even let me lay down a panel. But Honore says while this work is key to making clean energy accessible, it's not enough to close the clean energy divide between the rich and poor, especially since new housing that is already so unaffordable will just become even more inaccessible.
When you talk about new construction, whether it's single family or 3 stories, you're talking about doing that construction in neighborhoods that typically are going to be priced out of even the rental range of lower income and communities of color, communities of concern.
Honore says it will be challenging for the state to meet environmental goals if more lower income communities aren't able to afford clean energy. Shalina Chatlani, KPBS News.
Calm and cool right now, but more dangerous fire weather is in the forecast. Meteorologist Daji Aswad tells us what the rest of the week and weekend look like.
Partly cloudy conditions tonight here in San Diego, dropping down to 61 degrees. As we continue into the region, we're also remaining pretty quiet. Not a lot of precipitation to talk about. 58 in Borrego Springs, 42 for your overnight low in Mount Laguna, and cooling down to 53 in Oceanside. Better chance for some clouds as you head closer to that coast. Now, we are going to start to see some things change up into the extended forecast. But as for your Friday, well, we're still trying to notice that cooler air marching in behind a cold front. So some cooler air for portions of California. Notice we remain in that warm and dry zone. Headed into your temperatures, 75 in Oceanside, 74 in San Diego, pleasant out for the end of the week. Upper 80s in Borrego Springs and 64 in Mount Laguna, looking at plenty of sun. Now, headed into that early week forecast, we start to notice offshore winds. So there will be the chance for a Santa Ana wind event. Won't be as strong as the last one we had, but there will be a noticeable offshore flow and warmer air. That means low humidity and increased fire risk as we head into your Sunday through Tuesday is really when we'll start to notice that offshore wind developing. As for the extended forecast at the coast, mid to upper 70s Friday and Saturday, remaining in the upper 70s Sunday with lots of sunshine. That offshore flow really starts to kick in Monday. Temperatures go into the upper 80s. It warms up for Monday and Tuesday, so pull out the flip-flops if you don't already have them on. And then as we head into the inland areas, also going to notice that warm up. Friday, a high of 79, lower 80s Saturday, lots of sunshine Sunday with a high in the mid 80s and lower 90s Monday and Tuesday. That offshore flow making things hot for the inland areas in the lower 90s. That's a huge change from your Friday into the early week forecast. That offshore flow going to bring us warm conditions Tuesday into the mountains, but overall will remain on the dry and sunny side through this weekend. So if you do have any weekend plans, no need to worry about those outdoor activities, and really not going to be heating up too much for the mountains. Desert areas, we're in the upper 80s for your Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the early week. Lower 90s for Monday, mid 90s by Tuesday. Reporting for KPBS News, I'm your meteorologist, Dajia Swad. Back to you.
The Trump administration announced a ceasefire agreement with Turkey, halting its incursion in northern Syria. Since President Trump ordered the withdrawal of U.S. troops from northern Syria, Turkey has bombed the area, and there have been reports of executions of Kurds by Turkish forces. Nadia Romero explains what we know about the talks today between the U.S. and Turkey.
Cameras were not allowed inside during the majority of the U.S.-Turkey ceasefire negotiations. But right after the hours-long meeting between Turkey and the U.S., Vice President Pence spoke to reporters claiming victory.
Turkey and the United States of America have agreed to a ceasefire in Syria. It will be a pause in military operations for 120 hours while the United States facilitates the withdrawal of YPG from the affected areas in the safe zone. And once that is completed, Turkey has agreed to a permanent ceasefire.
President Trump touting the deal after landing in Texas for a fundraiser and campaign rally.
This is an amazing outcome.
Vice President Pence says U.S. sanctions placed on Turkey last week will be lifted once the ceasefire becomes permanent. That could happen after Kurdish-led forces leave the safe zone.
I know it's already underway as we speak.
Turkish officials telling CNN they got exactly what they wanted out of the meeting. But later, Turkey's foreign minister saying in a press conference, quote, "This is not a ceasefire." Before the deal was announced, the House approved a resolution opposing President Trump's decision to remove U.S. troops from Syria. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying it could lead to a possible resurgence of ISIS.
Calls for the president to show a clear plan for how Americans will be protected from ISIS.
In Washington, I'm Nadia Romero reporting.
Congress is mourning the loss of one of its own. Congressman Elijah Cummings, the Maryland representative who also chaired one of the committees involved in Democrats' impeachment inquiry, has died at the age of 68. Karen Kafa has reaction from Capitol Hill.
Thank you.
Capitol Hill in mourning.
We have lost a great American.
Democrat Elijah Cummings, representative of the 7th Congressional District of Maryland since 1996, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, civil rights advocate, and fierce champion of his native Baltimore, died early Thursday morning, his office said, at the age of 68, the result of long-standing health challenges.
It's very sad. Very sad for all of us. We've all lost a friend. I'm devastated by the loss.
Fellow Maryland Democrat Jamie Raskin, also a member of the Oversight Committee, said that Cummings' legacy will loom large, especially as Democrats continue their impeachment inquiry.
What Elijah gave us was this moral resonance and texture to everything that we did.
The tributes also coming from Republicans, like Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina.
He was a good man. If you disagreed with him, that was okay, because he would help you where he could. I think he represented sort of the best of what a congressman is like.
And two of President Trump's staunchest defenders in the House. Cummings had a close friendship with Congressman Mark Meadows of North Carolina, who said Thursday he is heartbroken. And Jim Jordan of Ohio, the top Republican on the Oversight Committee, mourned Cummings as a man of great consequence and significance. Flags at the White House and the Capitol were lowered to half-staff Thursday morning. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
The leading e-cigarette company in the U.S. called Joule will stop selling controversial flavors popular with young vapors. Only tobacco, mint, and menthol flavors will remain for sale in retail stores and only in states that still allow the sale of vaping products. Meanwhile, Joule's fruity flavors have already been removed from the online store. That was the only place they were available to consumers 21 and over until now. The company pulled them from retail locations late last year, but the flavored pods will continue to be sold outside the U.S. Joule also recently announced it was suspending all broadcast, print, and digital product advertising in the U.S. When you feed your baby, you may also be serving up mega doses of lead, arsenic, and mercury. A new investigative study found these toxic heavy metals in many of the foods produced and marketed for babies. 168 baby foods from major manufacturers were tested. 95% contained lead, 73% contained arsenic, and 32% contained mercury. Even in trace amounts, those chemicals are linked to impaired brain development in children. The worst offenders were baby foods made with rice, sweet potatoes, and fruit juices. The negative brain impacts of these chemicals worsen with repeated exposure, and physicians suggest pureed vegetables, salmon, peanut butter, oatmeal, and avocado as safe baby foods.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, Turkey agrees to a temporary pause in the fighting in Syria. What it means, coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
A rally is set to get underway in Vista. It involves Vista Unified School District employees who are upset over what they call wasteful spending by the Board of Education. KPBS education reporter Joe Hong is live at the Vista Civic Center where the rally and meeting are about to begin. Joe?
Maya, the Vista Unified School District board meeting is about to start in about 45 minutes, but shortly some classified staff will be gathering to protest what they see as excessive spending in a year where the district is set to cut more than $19 million from its budget. One of the main issues is the board's decision to add an 8th period class at both Vista High and Rancho Buena Vista High, which is expected to cost the district almost $6 million in staffing and facilities. I'm here with President of the Classified Staff Union, Bill Faust. Bill, why are the staff members gathering here today to protest?
We are here to protest the fact that we've got fiscal irresponsibility within our school board, and we're adding, as you said, we're adding the 8th period day as part of this major budget deficit that we don't have the funding for at this time. And it's just something that we feel that we're concerned that possibly is going to affect our jobs at some point.
And today, the district superintendent, Linda Kimball, who's been on administrative leave for about a month, is also set to formally resign today. Bill, what does the superintendent's resignation have to do with sort of the fiscal situation at the district?
Well, it's based on the agreement that they've reached. It's going to increase by by about $281,000 in buyout compensation. Plus, with her being on administrative leave, that's another 2 to 3 months of salary. So if you take that, it's probably another $60,000. So you're looking at close to $350,000 to compensate this woman who, to be honest, did a real good job in her 2 years here. But evidently, there was some conflict between her and the board.
Right. Thank you, Bill. While the school board president, Rosemary Smithfield, described Superintendent Kimball's departure as a resignation, others say that the that she's being essentially forced out of the district for her positions on the district spending. Tomorrow, I'll be speaking with President Rosemary Smithfield about the school board's efforts to rescue the district's finances. Maya, back to you.
Thank you. That's KPBS education reporter Joe Hong. La Jolla Playhouse kicks off its Without Walls or WOW Festival today. It showcases local, national, and international artists. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando lets New York's Third Rail Project's artistic director describe its show and the challenges of working outdoors under a flight path.
This is good, though. I mean, case in point right here. Hi, I'm Tom Pearson. I'm one of the artistic directors of Third Rail Projects. We are a New York City-based performing arts company, and we're excited to be a part of this festival with La Jolla Playhouse and Without Walls. I think expect diversity, if anything, and a lot of different interpretations about what it means to be out of a proscenium sort of relationship to theater, and that can be so many different expressions of immersive theater, site-specific theater, ambulatory theater, experiential theater. It can take a lot of different forms. So I think that the festival does a really good job of actually showing the breadth of work that happens outside of a traditional theater space. And I think see as many things as you can, and then you'll get quite an experience of diversity in that. I really love site-specific work, especially because the rules change with every new site, and everything you think you know about theater, you have to relearn it according to where you are. And so what is a comfortable sort of relationship to an audience in a theater and an idea about what center stage is or what a fourth wall might be, it's like completely blown apart in a site. That to me is an exciting process of relearning the craft every time you make a new piece. The site that we're in is a desert walking path on the grounds of Liberty Station. And it's a great space for us in terms of its location across from the San Diego airport, and the story that we're sort of mixing together, a tandem tale of a little bit inspired by Amelia Earhart and the myth of Icarus, and looking at ideas of flight and failure and these different concepts around it, using sort of spoken word poetry mixed with a sound score by Sean Haggerty, sort of framing that as an audio tour for the audience with headsets and these individual playback devices, and they all kind of move through together. The airplanes that take off overhead is one of the most emphatic elements of this site. It's this constant, at its peak it's a minute and a half apart. There's an airplane taking off every minute and a half, and it's quite a loud sound that we pause for. But in this we decided to just embrace that and use that as part of the story and part of the design of the story. So I had been thinking about some concepts involving Icarus and Amelia Earhart and these ideas of flight. And when I saw the space, it was like, this is the place to put that. And so all of that kind of came together. We've been to the Without Walls Festival before, and we're really in love with the work and the way that the festival is curated, and have been in conversation with La Jolla Playhouse for a while about doing something. So the festival itself is very exciting to us, and the site is interesting in its opportunities and challenges. I think Liberty Station as a site is full of a lot of different options and a lot of different architectural spaces, and this is why it's an audio tour. The audio walking tour component for the audience is for 28 people at a time, and they move through the space with us for about an hour. Icarus is an interesting story because there's a pre-Hellenic version, and the literal sort of interpretation and something that became a concept for us was harness for wind, which is what the wings were called. And originally those were sails. The pre-Hellenic version of that story says that Daedalus invented sails as a way to outrun the fleets of Minos. And then later that got interpreted as wings. But that idea of a harness for wind that could be either wings or could be sails is an interesting tie to this space and its relationship to the airport for one, but also its history as a naval base. So it addresses two different ideas about the space at the same time through the story.
And again, La Jolla Playhouse's Without Walls or WOW Festival begins tonight and runs through October 20th at Arts District Liberty Station. It's a pretty easy life when you're top of the food chain, right? Well, maybe not always. Researchers who caught a 13-foot-long great white shark on Monday found teeth marks on its jaw and its head. One of the wounds was old and healed, while the other appears to have happened recently. What could take a chunk out of this apex predator? Well, Godzilla, maybe? Scientists say the answer is likely much simpler. They believe the male shark was either bitten by a larger male while competing for a female or by a female who wasn't interested in mating. Researchers with OSearch named the big fish Vimy and tagged him with a tracker. And Jennifer Aniston debuted her Instagram account on Tuesday and broke the internet doing it, temporarily crashing the app, but she broke more than just the internet. She also broke a Guinness World Record, collecting 1 million followers faster than anyone before her. Aniston hit the 1 million follower mark in 5 hours and 16 minutes. Guinness announced the news in a Wednesday press release. The previous record holder was actually a couple. It was Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan. In April, their joint Sussex royal account got 1 million followers in 5 hours and 45 minutes. As always, you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.